I, 35, female, work in a pretty competitive field, corporate communications. I have been in the industry since I was 22, so it's been over a decade of hard work, late nights, and climbing my way up from internships and assistant roles to where I am now. I'm not some high flying executive or anything, but I have built a solid reputation. I have a good position in a respected firm, and I have earned a couple of industry awards for campaign work. I really, really love what I do. My sister-in-law, Jocelyn, 43, female, entered the industry much later. She was a stay-at-home mom for most of her life. Nothing wrong with that, obviously, but when her kids were older and more independent, she decided to start working. She took a few online courses, got a couple of certificates, and landed a junior level role in a small PR agency. Everyone was proud of her, including me. I thought it was cool that she was trying something new. We'd never been super close, but we got along fine before all of this. We'd meet at family events, birthdays, holidays. She was always a little passive aggressive, but I chalked it up to personality differences. I have always been quieter and low key, while she tends to dominate conversations and try to impress people with big stories or dramatic reactions. Things started to get weird when she realized we were technically in the same field. She asked me where I worked, what my job title was, what kind of clients I had, and so on. I did not think anything of it at the time. I just answered her questions like anyone would. But later she started acting kind of cold. One time during dinner at my in-laws, she made a comment like, "It must be nice to have connections." And I did not really know what she meant. I just laughed it off. Then came the LinkedIn stuff. She started following me, liking some posts, and even reposting articles I'd written with little digs in her captions like, "Everyone's got an opinion these days, do they not?" It was subtle enough that it could be brushed off, but it did not sit right with me. Then one day she posted about starting a new job, and I noticed the company name because it's a direct competitor to the firm I work for. It's a smaller company, but in the same space. I messaged her congratulations and wished her well, and she did not respond. After that, things got real quiet on her end. She stopped interacting with anything I posted, and she did not speak to me at the next couple of family events. I didn't push it, and then my boss called me into a meeting. He looked really uncomfortable, which was weird because he's normally super casual with me. He said we needed to talk about some emails. I had no idea what he was talking about. He pulled up a few printed out copies of messages that had been sent from what looked like my personal email address, except it was not my address. It was close, like creepily close, but it was not mine. These emails were sent to our clients' partners and even internal HR. They were full of inappropriate comments, some complaints about the company, even a few passive-aggressive remarks about certain co-workers. Nothing blatantly awful, but enough that it would paint me in a really unprofessional light. Luckily, my boss had his doubts from the start. He said the tone was totally off and it did not sound like me at all. Plus, the email address had a slightly different domain, which he caught quickly, and he wanted to know if I had any idea who could be doing this. At first, I did not. I was shocked. Who would go through the effort to pretend to be me just to send this kind of stuff? My mind was racing. He said he'd forward me all the emails so I could look through them. He also told me not to worry, that they'd already flagged the address as a spoof and informed the IT team. He reassured me that my job was not in danger, but I felt sick. I stayed late that night going through every single message. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. One of the emails referenced a meeting I had mentioned during a family dinner a couple of weeks earlier. It was not something I'd posted online or talked about publicly. It was just a casual mention I'd made while chatting with my husband's side of the family. The only people there were my husband, his parents, his brother, and Jocelyn. I did not want to accuse anyone without proof, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I told my boss the next day that I suspected a family member might be involved. He was surprisingly understanding. He asked if I wanted to go to HR or press charges, but I said I wanted to figure out what was going on first. I talked to a friend in cybersecurity, and they helped me trace the IP address from the email headers. It was a long process, and I did not fully understand everything they did. But eventually we got an origin address, and guess what? It matched the city and even the neighborhood Jocelyn lived in. That was not solid proof, but it was enough for me. Instead of confronting her directly, I decided to lay a trap. At the next family gathering, I casually mentioned that our company had just signed a big new client in the tech space and that I was going to be leading the campaign. It was not true. I made it up just to see what would happen. 4 days later, another fake email was sent from the spoofed address, referencing the exact client I had made up. I showed it to my boss. That was the final nail in the coffin. We documented everything. HR got involved, legal too. But I told them I did not want to escalate it to law enforcement unless it continued. We blocked the address permanently and set up filters to catch anything similar in the future. I never confronted Jocelyn directly. I did not tell her. I knew. But the next time we saw each other, she was completely different. Quiet, uncomfortable. She barely looked at me. I heard later from my husband that she'd left her job. No explanation, just quit. I never told anyone else in the family what she did. Not even my in-laws. Not my own husband. I still do not know what she was trying to accomplish. Did she think I'd get fired? That she'd somehow take my place? That I'd be humiliated or blacklisted from the industry? All I know is that she was so bothered by the fact that I was ahead of her, even though I'd spent over a decade working my way up, while she'd just started. She couldn't stand that I had more experience, more recognition, more stability. What she did not expect was that this industry, while big on the outside, is very small once you actually start working in it. People talk. Recruiters share stories. Hiring managers talk to one another, especially when they're burned by someone new in the field who turns out to be a massive liability. Jocelyn tried applying to a few firms after quitting the first one. I only know this because a recruiter friend of mine messaged me one day, completely unrelated, asking if I knew Jocelyn S. and if she was reliable. I did not say much, just that she was family, and I'd rather not mix personal opinions with work stuff. I kept it neutral, but just the fact that someone reached out told me enough. She was applying for jobs, she was trying to get back in the game, and people were starting to see through her. Turns out, the firm she used to work at had quietly launched an internal investigation of their own. A few of her old co-workers noticed some strange behavior before she left, like asking too many questions about their competitors, my firm included, or requesting access to client files she had no reason to touch. They never made a public announcement or exposed her, but word started to spread. It's funny how fast a reputation can crumble when you're new and already trying to play dirty. She was not well established. She did not have years of good work or strong relationships to fall back on. She was still trying to get her foot in the door. But now every door was closing before she even got to knock. Meanwhile, my job was going well. I got promoted 2 months after the whole ordeal. My boss never brought up the situation again after it was resolved. It was like it never happened. I appreciated that more than he probably knew. But Jocelyn's presence was still there in small, petty ways. I noticed she unfollowed me on every platform. She blocked me on Instagram and LinkedIn, even though we were never really connected on a personal level there. She removed me from her Facebook. I wouldn't have even known if I had not randomly searched her name out of curiosity one night. She disappeared, but the hole she dug for herself just kept getting deeper. My husband eventually noticed she'd become distant. He asked if something had happened between us. I just said we weren't really getting along lately. He did not press it, which I appreciated. I haven't spoken to her since. She avoids me completely. If we end up at the same family event, she finds a reason to leave early or stay in another room. I let her. I do not care anymore, but I won't lie. Sometimes I wonder if I should have said something to the family, told them what really happened, explained why she's on the outside now and why no one will hire her. But then I remember how hard I worked to stay calm, to take the high road, to not stoop to her level. And maybe that was the real win. Still, part of me wonders. AITA for not telling anyone what my sister-in-law did, even though it ruined her entire career? Update 1. It's been months since the whole Jocelyn disaster, but somehow I am still in the middle of the mess she created. After everything she did, the fake emails, the job applications in my name, the attempts to get me fired, I thought things would quiet down once it all blew up in her face. I did not expect to be the one getting side-eyed by half the family. Truth is, I never even told anyone at first. I handled it quietly, let the company do their thing and moved on. But Jocelyn did not. She kept spiraling. When her fake freelance business failed, she did not take the loss privately. She made it a story, her version of it. Now I'm apparently the one who destroyed her. The family dynamic has completely shifted. Suddenly I'm getting cold shoulders, fewer messages, no invites to small events that I used to get included in without question. Jocelyn's sister Amanda seems to have taken up the role of her public defender. She's been making little comments to people, nothing direct, just enough to stir the pot. Things like, "It's sad how some people just love seeing others fail," or "Some people in this family think they're better than everyone else." It's not subtle. Everyone knows who she means. The worst part is most of them seem to be falling for it. No one ever asks me directly, but the way they act around me says enough. Polite, but cold. Friendly on the surface, but distant underneath. I have been with my husband for 9 years, married for 6. I have known this family for almost a decade, and now feels like I'm the outsider. All because I dared to protect my career and did not go along with Jocelyn's weird need to compete with me. The last straw was Easter dinner. It was at my mother-in-law's house. Jocelyn was not supposed to be there, again. But of course she showed up. She always shows up when she thinks she can make herself look like the victim. She walked in late, wearing this soft beige sweater and no makeup, like she wanted to look fragile and exhausted. And people fell for it. The conversation that night somehow circled back to careers. Jocelyn gave another vague speech about toxic environments and how sometimes people crush you when you're trying to grow. I did not say a word. I did not even look at her. I just focused on my plate and tried to pretend I was not in the room. Then my mother-in-law, completely unprompted, turned to me and said, "I just hope you two can work things out one day. It's hard seeing sisters torn apart like this." I nearly choked. Sisters? We're not sisters. We're related by marriage. That's it. And I do not know what fantasy version of events she's been told, but there's nothing to work out. Jocelyn pretended to be me. She sent fake emails to my boss. She tried to ruin my entire professional life. And yet somehow I'm the one being told to fix it? I did not respond. I couldn't. If I had, I would have exploded. So I just excused myself, went to the bathroom, and stayed there for a long time. My husband found me later and we left early. On the way home, he asked if I wanted him to talk to his mom again. I told him no, it wouldn't matter. People believe what they want to believe, and right now it's easier for them to think I'm cold and unforgiving than to accept that Jocelyn is the one who burned every bridge she had. I have been trying to stay focused on work. My company's doing great, and I recently got offered a big project that I'm really excited about, but even then, I can't fully enjoy it because in the back of my mind, I keep hearing Amanda's voice saying, I wanted Jocelyn to fail, that I stepped on her to climb higher. None of that is true. I never competed with her. I did not even know we worked in the same industry until she started showing up in my circles. I was just doing my job, growing, earning opportunities. She couldn't handle that. She hated seeing me succeed when she felt like she was stuck. She wanted to be the big success story in the family. She's older, more experienced. And for years, people always said she was the one with the bright future. And I think watching me get there before she did just triggered something in her. Instead of asking for help, instead of learning, and instead of being humble, she went straight to sabotage. She thought if she couldn't get ahead of me, she'd drag me back. And when that did not work, she imploded. Now she's blaming me for the fallout. I have thought about sitting the family down, explaining everything, showing the proof, letting them see the emails, the company's investigation, the whole ugly truth. But I do not want to be that person. I don't want to drag it all out again. I don't want to fight for a place at a table that clearly doesn't want me there anymore. Still, it hurts. It hurts to be painted as the villain when I was the one who got attacked. It hurts to see people take her side just because she cried and looked sad. It hurts to know that no matter what I do, some of them will always believe her version of the story. And the worst part, Jocelyn still hasn't apologized, not once. Not even a fake, sorry you felt that way. She's just continuing living her life like she's the one who got betrayed. I have kept quiet out of respect, out of a desire not to blow up the family, but now I am wondering if that silence just made things worse. Maybe if I had spoken up earlier, people wouldn't be so quick to see me as the enemy. It's exhausting. I do not want a war. I don't want revenge. I just want peace. I want to be able to go to a family dinner without feeling like I have to defend my entire existence. I want people to stop acting like I personally pushed Jocelyn off a cliff when all I did was stand still while she tried to shove me. I'm not perfect. I have made mistakes in life, sure, but this isn't one of them. I protected myself. That's all, and I won't apologize for that. But I also do not know how to fix this. I don't know how to change people's minds once they've decided I'm the cold, ambitious one who doesn't care about family. I do not know how to be in rooms with people who whisper behind my back, and I don't know how to move forward from here. So now I'm stuck with this growing resentment from people I used to laugh with this sense of being unwelcome in a family I have spent years trying to belong to, and with this weird guilt hanging over me, even though I know I did not do anything wrong. Jocelyn burned her own reputation to the ground. Update 2. I really thought the last update would be the end of it. I was slowly trying to move forward, professionally, emotionally, mentally. I thought the dust had settled, even if the resentment from certain family members had not. But apparently, Jocelyn was not done writing her tragic little redemption arc. She tried again, and this time she got caught. It started small. My husband's cousin, Melissa, messaged me asking for advice. She's trying to get into digital marketing and had heard I worked with some good people. I offered to review her resume and give her some pointers. Nothing big, just normal stuff. She was grateful and even sent me a message later saying, "Thank you again, because someone in her small networking group actually knew of me and had said kind things." That seemed harmless until I heard Jocelyn's name mentioned in passing during a virtual conference I was attending a few days later. One of the panelists, someone from a mid-sized agency I'd partnered with briefly, made a vague reference to a consultant disaster they dealt with earlier that month. They did not say her name, but the timeline, job title, and the weird details lined up a little too perfectly. I got curious. I did not want to go digging, but I also felt this weird sense of unease, like my gut was warning me. So I looked. And wow, I wish I could say I was surprised, but I was not. Turns out, Jocelyn had tried to get hired at that same agency again. This time she applied under a slightly altered version of her name. She tweaked the spelling, changed the layout of her resume, and used a brand new email address. But the moment they brought her in for a trial project, she showed her true colors. She was unprofessional, did not follow instructions, and get this, tried to take credit for work that clearly was not hers. The agency caught on quick. They cross-checked a sample she submitted and found the original published version on a known brand's website with my name in the byline. She literally tried to pass off one of my articles as her own, again. This woman cannot help herself. They obviously cut ties with her immediately, and HR logged the incident. One of the project managers, who was part of the trial team, remembered our past collaboration and put two and two together. She reached out to me, not to accuse or confront me, but to ask if I knew what was going on. I explained the situation briefly and professionally, not getting into the whole messy backstory. She just sighed and said, "That makes sense now." Apparently, Jocelyn did not just lie about her experience. She was also using my name as a reference without asking. She listed me as someone who could vouch for her skills and work ethic. The audacity. I did not confront her. I didn't need to, because 2 days later it exploded on its own. Melissa called me frantic. Apparently, Jocelyn had told her a completely different version of events. Something about being scammed by a toxic employer, framed for plagiarism, and blacklisted unfairly. Melissa, being sweet and trusting, tried to defend her until someone in her networking group mentioned they had also received an email with a reference request Jocelyn had sent out, using my name again. That's when Melissa pieced it together and called me, completely horrified. I reassured her that I was not mad at her and that she had nothing to do with it. She apologized a dozen times, even though she had no reason to. It was not her fault that Jocelyn was using my name like a business card. Melissa ended up telling her mom, my husband's aunt, who told my mother-in-law, and the whole thing unraveled from there. Jocelyn couldn't backpedal fast enough. Her story changed 3 times in 1 week. First, she said it was an honest mistake. She forgot to change the references from an old resume template. Then it became a technical glitch from the job board she used, and when no one bought that, she pivoted to tears and said she was desperate and felt like a failure and did not know what else to do. That would have been a good moment to own up, apologize, and maybe do some damage control. But no, she doubled down and blamed me again. She told the family that if I had been kinder, more supportive, or helped her when she asked, she wouldn't have had to lie. Let that sink in. She said my refusal to help her lie somehow made me responsible for her lying. It would almost be funny if it weren't so ridiculous. But here's the thing, this time people did not buy it. Maybe it was because she'd already been caught once. Maybe it was because Melissa is well liked and has no reason to lie. Maybe it was just the sheer amount of smoke finally forcing people to admit there's fire. But slowly the tone started to shift. The passive-aggressive texts stopped. The weird cold silences at family gatherings eased up. A few relatives even reached out privately to say they were sorry for how they acted before. One of my husband's cousins, who had previously sided with Jocelyn, said that she wanted to believe Jocelyn was just misunderstood, but now she is not so sure. It's not some dramatic full circle vindication, but it's something. And the most satisfying part, Jocelyn's little stunt backfired again. The agency flagged her name, added her to their internal do not hire list, and someone from the recruiting side quietly spread the word through mutual HR groups. She made herself untouchable, and it was not because I said a word. I did not warn anyone. I did not forward screenshots. I did not even comment on the situation unless directly asked. She did it all to herself. The last I heard, she was considering leaving the industry altogether. Apparently, she's tired of the politics and sick of being targeted. I do not know what career she'll pursue next, but I am praying it's one that doesn't involve my name, my work, or my credibility. I have learned a lot from this whole thing, mostly that some people will do anything to avoid taking responsibility for their own failures. And some families will twist themselves into knots to protect the wrong person just to avoid facing the truth. I never wanted revenge. I just wanted peace. I don't think I'll ever fully get it, at least not with Jocelyn still in the picture, but at least now I am not the one they're all whispering about. Now they're finally looking at her, and she doesn't like it one bit. Update 3. I thought things had finally settled, but apparently Jocelyn was not done. Last week I was at a small industry networking event with my husband. It was not some huge conference or formal gathering, just a casual evening mixer hosted by a creative agency I'd collaborated with in the past. It was low-key, chill. I was actually enjoying myself. I had a glass of wine in hand, was chatting with some people about upcoming trends, and for once I felt comfortable being out in the open professionally again. Then someone gently tapped my shoulder and said, "Hey, isn't that your sister-in-law over there?" I turned around. There she was, Jocelyn, standing at the snack table like she was supposed to be there. I froze. For a second, I actually questioned whether I was imagining it, but no, it was her. Same haircut, same mannerisms, same smug little expressions like she had some kind of upper hand. I had not seen her in months. Not since the last mess where she tried to use my name as a reference without permission. And I knew for a fact she had not been invited to this event. The guest list had been curated. It was one of those industry invite-only mixers where you had to be on the list to enter. I had not seen her name anywhere. She did not work with anyone there. She did not even live nearby. What was she doing here? Turns out she had registered under a different name. She gave a variation of her real name, slightly altered spelling, used a new email address when she showed up, and she claimed she was shadowing a friend who couldn't make it last minute. Nobody really questioned her right away because it was not a giant event and people tend to assume good intentions. But then she started talking and bragging. She introduced herself to a group of people standing near us and dropped my name, not just casually, like, "Oh, we're related," but more like she was somehow connected to my career again. I have worked closely with her before. We've collaborated on things, stuff that was not true. I was not even talking to her and she did not say a word to me. She just acted like she belonged and hoped no one would call her out. Unfortunately for her, one of the organizers recognized her from a past incident. A woman named Clara, who had been involved in that previous agency Jocelyn tried to scam, was also there. And she walked right over to the staff, pointed her out and explained the situation. Security had a quiet conversation with Jocelyn off to the side and asked her to leave. She did not make a scene, but the look she gave me as she walked out, pure venom. It was a silent but intense kind of hatred, like I was the one who had done something to her, like I was the reason she couldn't stay, as if I had chased her out when really she had no business being there in the first place. That look stayed with me the rest of the night, and I just kept thinking, why? Why show up there of all places? Why try to pretend again? Why try to sneak back into an industry where everyone knows what she did? I did not confront her. I did not text or call her afterward. I did not post about it online. I did not say a word. I didn't need to. The event hosts sent out a quiet apology afterward to anyone who had interacted with her, just in case. They clarified she was not on the list and wouldn't be welcome again, and that was that. But for me, it was the final moment of realization. Jocelyn was never going to change. Even when everyone knows the truth, even when the damage is done, even when she's already ruined her own chances, she still needs someone to blame, and somehow I'm still her favorite target. What's wild is that through all of this, I never once tried to ruin her. I didn't try to blacklist her. I did not go around telling everyone what she did. In fact, I have gone out of my way to be quiet about it. The only thing I have ever done is protect myself. And that was enough to make her hate me. After the event, the family went back to being quiet. No one texted me about it. No one tried to defend her this time. A few people reached out with a vague, awkward message like, "Hope you're okay," or "Can't believe what she did." But no one directly apologized for how they treated me before, and honestly, I did not expect them to. Jocelyn hasn't reached out either. I haven't heard from her since she got escorted out. I do not know if she's embarrassed or just plotting the next move. But I do know this, she's not welcome in my life anymore, not even from a distance. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.